Caldwell and Burke. So we basically got 3 warnings in the same area. I know it's super confusing, so let me kind of break this down, and we'll go storm by storm. I think that's the easiest thing. So storm number 1, circulation is up here. This is actually in the northwest corner of Wilkes County. Storm number 2 is on the Burke County line, right there on Brown Mountain Beach Road near Piney. And then storm number 3 is down here near Marion, heading towards Lake James again. So this is just east of McDowell Technical College, heading towards, basically away from downtown Marion, and then heading towards the west end, the headwaters of Lake James there. And so this is going to move into Burke County. So there's 3, and let me just show you real quickly. There's 1 circulation, 2 circulations, and 3 circulations right there. And because of that, we've got 3 warnings. The first one they just canceled because it moved into parts of Wilkes County. So now we're down back to 2. It doesn't mean that storm isn't circulating, it's just in the Wilkes County. So if you're watching online, Wilkes is not technically in our over-the-air broadcast, but a lot of folks can pick us up and also watch us online. So that area right there is where we need to be careful because we could see that storm spin back up. I just got a picture on my Twitter feed from Stephen Cook. He's got his drone up, and he's looking from pretty far away near Table Rock, and he's basically telling me, you know, that storm is rain-wrapped. So you can't see anything. So that's actually a pretty good view. Okay, so they canceled the other warning, and we're down to 1. So we've kind of whittled it down. I actually like when they do this because when there's so many warnings, it can be really confusing. If your phone is going off, and it's not always for the same storm. In this case, we had 3 separate storms. So the main rotation now is right here on the Caldwell-Burke County line. So here's Lenoir. Lenoir, if you're in Lenoir, go ahead and get to that safe spot. If you know friends or family in Lenoir, and you're watching me online, whether it's YouTube, our app, social media, WCNC.com or app, hey, text them. Say, hey, I know you're probably not watching the weather. You maybe got an alert. I'm watching Brad right now. That thing's got some circulation. It's going to clip the north side of Lenoir. So unlike the first 2 storms, which kind of were in the more northern part or upper part of Caldwell, closer to the mountain, this is much closer to Lenoir right now. So in Lenoir, in fact, let me see. I'm going to try to grab our camera from High Brighton Mountain and see if we can actually see anything from there. So I am going to grab this. So bear with me just a second. I'll leave the radar up there. But what I am going to do is see if we can't see something from our High Brighton Mountain camera. It's going to take a second to load. So can't see a whole lot. It's dark, obviously, now. Sunset about 25, 30 minutes ago. And we're kind of aimed at the ground, but it's not even really raining there. And I believe this is looking due west. So this would be looking towards the storm that we're referring to. So this mountain camera is actually right on High Brighton Mountain. Let me load that again. Sorry for the delay there. So you can see High Brighton west. So it's looking west from Lenoir back towards the upper part of Caldwell, basically looking back towards Blowing Rock. And what I look for at night, you're not going to see a whole lot. So what you look for in damage type setups, like you're looking for power flashes on the ground. We would know some kind of wind damage or tornadoes on the ground. And so I'm looking off in the distance there. I don't see anything that resembles lightning or anything like that, which is a good sign. So we'll go back to the radar again, kind of reset here. There's the storm, and let me show you, there's Lenoir. I'm going to zoom in close here, and we're going to pull up the velocity data. So Lenoir is on the right side. Collettsville is basically where this thing is right now. So if you're in Collettsville, please make sure you're in a sheltered location. That is definitely where I would be right now. That is the area where we're seeing the strongest rotation. Stay there until this passes. If you're in Burke County, even though there's no warning, there is another storm down to the south that I'm a little wary of. So I would definitely be just maybe staying close to your shelter location, if not maybe staying in there. We've got a couple other warnings going on there. I'm going to try to turn some of these off because we've got some flash flood warnings as well going on there. The flash flood warnings aren't the important thing right now, but those are still going to be dangerous. Once the tornado warning passes, we will get to these flash flood warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings. But the tornado warning, again, is for Burke and Caldwell County. It's essentially completely in Caldwell County. So Burke, you're in the clear from this storm at least. The next one we'll keep you up to date on. This one is actually pushing off towards Patterson. So again, let's go in close. So Lenoir, hey, maybe downtown you'll be okay, but the north side, as you're going north towards areas heading up towards Patterson and Warrior, so areas along 321 where 90 meets up there, Patterson, the Warrior, that's the area I would be seeking shelter right now. And then Yadkin Valley, and then eventually into Wilkes County. So folks in Wilkes County, you can see the severe thunderstorm warning in effect there as well. I'm going to flip back to the velocity data because this has been really telling. So there's the circulation, and what I'm referring to is got strong winds like this and strong winds right there along Highway 90, just on the west side of Lenoir, pushing northeast at about 30 miles per hour. So we're picking up a little bit of speed there. Let me do an updated track. And again, I know sometimes folks are watching, you think we're repeating this. It's just people are just tuning in or their phones are going off and they're like, what the heck is going on? So we got to keep repeating where the storm is and where it's going. And if you've seen me say this a couple times, but you know somebody that lives in one of these cities, maybe you're in Hickory, maybe you're outside the danger zone, but you know somebody up there, you could go ahead and maybe send them a message because they will listen to you before sometimes they'll listen to us. So there's the circulation. They hear it from a family friend or coworker or some church member, they'll definitely seek shelter. So I want anybody in the path of this storm, and you can see here's all Lenoir, Patterson, Cedar Rock, Yadkin Valley, the Darby area, and then up towards Patterson Ridge, Moravian Falls as you go up into Wilkes County. Maybe be on guard here, but if you're in these locations or you're near those locations, just find that room, the middle of the house. If you got a closet, that's great, a bathroom, sometimes even an interior hallway. Anything between you and the outside that gets as many walls between you and the outside and as many floors above your head. That's why the lowest level is the best. What happens in these situations, this circulation, it sounds weird, but it's not the wind that's the problem. It's what the wind picks up and throws at you. And you want as many walls to block that stuff as you can. If the first one doesn't get it, the second one will, if not the third one. Also, if you have a helmet, hard hat, skateboard helmet, bike helmet, any kind of helmet, protect your head. Most people get injured or even, unfortunately killed in tornadoes. It's due to head trauma. About 80% of those fatalities are from head trauma, which means they get hit in the head with stuff. So you want to protect the noggin. Basically when we do these in school, you get in the hallway, cover your head. We want to protect that head. That is the most dangerous aspect of these storms, the debris being thrown at you. So any way you can protect yourself from flying debris is what you're going to want to do. So Lenoir, it's pretty much right on you. You should be in your shelter location. Grab your phone, your tablet, and continue to stream it. And we will continue to give you updates on that. And we'll give you the all clear. Don't worry. I'll tell you when that thing has passed and we can get a little break from that storm. I'm checking as well. I have not seen any damage reports. So,
yeah, Burke County EMA checking in, just saying a couple trees down. City of Morganton, just a quick update because we mentioned that outage with 1,000 people without power. They've updated on their Twitter page saying the cause of the outage is a tree on a power line on Kirksey Drive, which is going to be that larger roadway spanning between 64 and 70. Yeah.
So what's happening, and we saw some reports from Hickory as well, Vanessa.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so you're probably wondering, boy, Brad, that's nowhere near these storms. What's going on? Well, that actually makes me think there's a tornado in there because when tornadoes form, they pull in what we call strong inflow. And when you chase out in the plains, you'll see that strong inflow has to feed these storms from the southwest. And that strong inflow could be 50, 60 miles an hour. That went right over Hickory, went right over Morganton. So the strong winds that were feeding these storms actually were causing damage.
Like a vacuum
exactly.
type effect or
it's
something?
Pulling in that air. That's being sucked up into this cloud. And on the backside, you have the rear flank downdraft, which is the winds coming from the northwest. So we see this often. These two types of wind can actually end up causing more damage than the tornado itself. Because remember, this tornado, while it's very dangerous and we want you to seek shelter, it's relatively small compared to the size of the storm. The storm could be the whole county. The tornado is 25 to 30 yards wide. Mm-hmm. So it's a much smaller, that's why you see oftentimes where one house is hit and the one next door has barely got any damage because it's just the narrowness of the circulation. And, just for instance, this is pretty far from the radar, but just to give you an idea how broad that circulation is, it's actually pretty broad on the radar. But across, it's about 3.5 miles. The individual tornado is probably more like that size. So it's much smaller width, but all of this is pulling in very strong winds. Now that other product we look at, it's pretty far from the radar, so I can't really use it as well, is our debris detection. And one of the things that dual pole Doppler radar can do, it can tell us the size of the hydrometeors, the raindrops or the snowflakes. Usually those are all the same size. So when there's a whole bunch of raindrops next to each other, it's solid maroon. If it's all rain, if it's all snow, it's solid maroon. When you start getting oranges and light reds, that means there's different particles that are different sizes next to each other. That usually means a piece of wood versus a leaf versus a shingle versus a 2x4. Those are all different sizes. Yep.
So I have a question. I guess I'm wondering now, because originally I know you told us this window for severe was going to be between 1 and 8 p.m.
Yep.
Here we are kind of towards the tail end of that. Is this a parting shot, if you will, as the storm heads out, or is there more storm to come?
This is actually the cold front. So what happened today, and this really happened late this evening, we saw the skies clear right before sunset. It got really hot and humid. Warm air surged up, and at the same time, here comes the cold front. The cold front comes down here, interacts with that, and so the front is doing most of the damage today as opposed to the storms ahead of the main line. Now, I want to widen this out because in Charlotte, we were really lucky because we have seen storms all around us. We saw tornado warnings north, we've seen tornadoes northwest now, and we've seen tornadoes southwest. Basically surrounded us on three sides, never made it to Charlotte. Great news. But until this line moved through, I was still worried. And we've got an hour after sunset. That means 8:47 is until we probably are cool enough that this would diminish, or when the front gets in here to clear us out. So neither of those have happened yet. So that's why we're not in the all clear yet. But the good news is this storm does look like it's weakening as I'm looping it several times here. And with two of the warnings, we've seen an early cancellation. Now, I wouldn't cancel this one yet because of where it is. It is a strong circulation, and it's much closer to Lenore, which is a much more densely populated area. And just looking at some of the areas around Lenore, you're talking about the north side. They are going 321. So if you're traveling north of 320 on 321, don't do it right now, and don't come down off the mountain. So anybody coming from Blowing Rock, just stay put until this storm passes. That's a treacherous road, even in the perfect day and perfect conditions. If there's a tornado passing by, you don't want to be anywhere near there. So I'm talking about the north side of Lenore as you're traveling north. Just basically on the north side of town as you're heading out near the Super Walmart, that would be the area that I would be seeking shelter. If I'm around the Super Walmart and then north, heading up 321, those are the areas I want to seek shelter. If you're south of the Super Walmart, heading down towards the Chick-fil-A there right on 321 and then Lenore Golf Course, and then heading down towards Broy Hill, walking park in that area, you know, that vicinity, you've probably driven by that. Those areas are okay. You're far enough south, but the areas on the north side, basically from the Super Walmart north, is where I'd want you to seek shelter until this passes. So, again, this warning is set to expire at 8:45, which is interesting because now it's actually moving out of the warning polygon. So they might cancel this early.
We got 1,000
might see a new one issued. And why would we see a new one issued? Well, let's look at the circulation here. Linville, another circulation down here towards Linville. Not as strong. So these circulations, you probably aren't seeing the same thing I am, but I'm used to looking at these. These are the circulations right here. So those are three little circulations, but they're not nearly as intense as they were 30 minutes ago, even 20 minutes ago, Vanessa. So these are much weaker. And that's probably partly due to the fact that storms have moved over the same area, but also we're getting towards the cooler time of the day, and the cold front is moving in and kind of stabilizing things. So these individual cells have been tracking along the same front. What happens is the storm will use up the thunderstorm fuel, and you won't have as much in there. So 8:45, I'm looking at my watch, that's 25 minutes still. The storm is actually out of the warning polygon. So don't be surprised. This is probably going to go away because it's already out of that area, and it's going to be probably canceled early. We still have a lot of flash flooding here. So even after the tornado warning is canceled, I would not be driving around out here. We've got a lot of topography, a lot of terrain here, and a lot of rapid runoff. So flash flood warnings, that means debris flows, maybe trees down, if not from the tornado, but from water flying off the mountainsides here. The Linville Gorge, really worried about folks hiking and camping up there. That's kind kind of a cellular no-go zone up there. You just don't get much of a signal, and most people backpack and hike in there, and that's a tough area to get communication to. They do have a little tower on one end of the gorge that I know you can hit with some of your cell phones, so that does help. But I think in general, the communication up there is not great, Vanessa.
Do those people have to worry about lightning?
Yeah, lightning is always, you don't want to be on a ridge. You know, and lightning can hit you from really far distances up there, so you do not want to be in that area. Now, the good thing, it's the middle of the week, so maybe there's less people up there, but a lot of locals like to head to the Linville Gorge in the middle of the week because they can avoid the crowds that are there on the weekend. So around Lenoir and Patterson, that circulation is weakening. I have a sneaky suspicion that they're going to cancel this warning early, just based on what I'm seeing on the radar. They don't want to cancel and then have to reissue, so they're going to wait a couple what we call volume scans, which is a couple scans of the radar. You know, if you think of the radar, it's like an MRI. It's just taking scans of the storm, and each time the line goes by, you see a scan. So we're going to get a couple scans of this and see that that trend is weakening, because these things can pulse up or down. But what's interesting is you see the warning polygon right there, and that's that purple box or polygon. That's the tornado warning. The circulation is actually now outside of it. It's up here. So this is becoming obsolete. In fact, the warning probably should be up here, but there is a severe thunderstorm warning for that area as well. And remember, these severe thunderstorm warnings, when they say there's a tornado possible or they issue these severe thunderstorm warnings can and do produce tornadoes with no warning. So in a situation like today where the ingredients are favorable for tornadoes, you always got to watch the severe thunderstorm warnings. Maybe not go to the shelter location, but be on standby, be ready to go, because we could see a warning issued, and we've seen that a couple times here this evening in the mountains. So again, this warning was set to expire at 8:45. I think, see if they cancel that. They just adjusted it. We'll see if they cancel it out completely. I am not going to be shocked here, because you see the time here, 8:45, but it's still 8:23 here. So this is a little bit longer now ongoing with this. The severe thunderstorm warning is until 9 o'clock, and if you read the tag up there, it actually will tell you.
Yeah, it looks like they trimmed it down just a little bit.
Yeah, they just cut down the back a little bit there. Basically, with the trim up there, they basically are saying that at around 8:22, there was possible tornado about 4 miles north of Lenoir and moving northeast now at 40 miles per hour. So that's basically moving much quicker. It went from 25 to 30 to 35 and now 40. So let me redraw. I'm going to redraw that. Ignore that box for a second.
You said north of Lenoir?
Yeah, so 4 miles north.
Oh, okay. It's interesting. There's a lot of I'm seeing power outages, but they're going to be north of Lenoir.
Yeah.
Kind of between
probably
Lenoir and
Patterson
Blowing Rock?
and Blowing Rock, yeah.
Yeah.
Right there, that area between Lenoir and Blowing Rock. So Warrior, 8:25. Patterson, 8:28. Yadkin Valley, 8:33. Darby, 8:42. So those are the areas where it's heading. Lenoir, stay in your shelter location for just a little bit longer. It's 4 miles to your north. It's too close. I don't want you out of your shelter location yet. But we are going to push that back to the northeast here. Hopefully, we can push it out and get it out of here in the next 5 to 10 minutes, and people in Lenoir actually could get out of their shelter location. Just to overview where we are in relation to everybody else in our area. This is happening along the cold front, which is pushing into the foothills and the mountains right now. That tornado warning till 8:45 for Caldwell County is probably going to be allowed to expire, if not canceled early. Lenoir, give it a couple more minutes. The circulation is just almost out of there. I'm going to bring up the velocity data again. Not good. We're getting some range folding there. That's that purple. That's just an artifact of the radar, having some trouble there. So we're seeing that circulation just north of Lenoir, and so it's almost out of Lenoir. It's more near Patterson now and in Yadkin Valley. So Lenoir, if you're in Lenoir, you're in the clear. Okay, we can give you the clear now. It is far enough away. North side even, you're okay as well. Patterson, Yadkin Valley, you need to stay in your shelter location. And then next up is going to be parts of Wilkes County as this pushes off in that direction. And severe thunderstorm warning still for Wilkes and Watauga till 8:30, and that's for the same storm that produced a tornado earlier. And also don't forget flash flood warning for the upper part of Burke County, and that's something to watch because that's the headwaters for Lake James. The Linville River flows in there, and then that goes into the Catawba chain. So there could be some flash flooding there. That's a really flash flood prone area anyways, from Jonas Ridge down to Linville and then into Lake James there. It is interesting the number of power outages we're getting, Vanessa, and they're kind of all over the place up there.
Yeah, we're kind of going back and forth between Duke Energy and Blue Ridge Energy. Yeah. I keep going back to the outages north of Lenoir because it's exactly where you're talking about. You're focusing your efforts at this point. It's like Patterson, I'd say Patterson specifically and Blowing Rock, we have fewer than 300, but still a couple hundred people reported without power. It looks like Blue Ridge is going to try to get to you guys and get your power back on maybe by 10 or 11 o'clock this evening. But we are actually seeing growing outages reported around the Hickory area. You might recall several minutes ago we'd mentioned about 1,400 people in Hickory were reporting outages. Duke Energy has updated that now to about 2,000. And so as we told folks before, this is it generally seems to be caused by limbs, wind, messing up the power lines.
Yeah.
So
I just got a report from the Patterson area on Twitter. Noah sent me, said they did have some trees fall on their yard, and it's super windy there right now. Also, someone in Lenoir said super windy as well, and it is really cranking up there on the north side of Lenoir. So those folks in the northern sections of Caldwell County, they're reporting a lot of wind, and that was with this storm that just passed east of Patterson, now in Yadkin Valley, heading towards Wilkes County. So what's interesting is the tornado warning is not even in where the storm is anymore. The storm is already off to the northeast, so the tornado warning is up. Sometimes when it's so close to the expiration, they'll just leave it up. But I can tell you, these sections where the warning is, you're out of the woods. I mean, that warning is now kind of obsolete. This is really heading into Wilkes County. In Patterson, you're almost in the clear. I would say stay there another minute. Yadkin Valley, if you're watching, listening on the stream or on your phone, stay in your shelter location. And then heading towards Buffalo Cove, you're probably going to be on the edge, and then Ferguson. And then, looking further down the road, heading into areas of Wilkes County, north side of North Wilkesboro. And again, I'll put a track on this because this is where it's moving at 40 miles an hour. Yadkin Valley is pretty much right on you. 829 now, 830 for Yadkin Valley. Ferguson, 842. Mount Zion, 844. Millers Creek, 857. Wilkesboro, 9 o'clock. If it makes it to Wilkesboro, that's when that storm would be up there. But I do expect it to weaken just a little bit. Now, I just saw, I think we have a tornado watch now up for the area. It looks like until just before midnight. So let me grab that real quickly. Storm Prediction Center just put that out. I don't know if it's populated our graphic yet, but remember the difference between a watch and a warning. A watch means conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form in and around the watch area. We kind of had those ingredients all day. I was actually surprised we didn't see a watch issued earlier, but we've seen a couple of these areas today see rotating storms and not see the watch issued yet. But we've had several warnings already, so kind of makes sense that we're seeing that now. When is that watch to? Let me double check. Make sure I'm not seeing that. It's still populating, but yeah, there is going to be a tornado watch issued for parts of the area. It looks like it's going to be for the foothills. Let me see if they actually popped it up here. It's actually going to include most of the areas west of Charlotte. So it's basically what they're doing, Vanessa. I think they're going to keep a watch up for this line as it pushes in from the west, just in case we see additional spin up. So that tornado watch was just issued. And that is until, let's see, 9, 10, 11, until midnight, looking at that. 4Z, yes.
Now you're saying indications maybe this is weakening. I mean, is this based on wind speed, or I guess what are you looking at? So
what's happening here is I think we've had so much warm, humid air surge up from the south today. Okay, they just canceled the tornado warning. So it's 8:31, so we're going to be able to go back to programming here. But what I'm going to do, we're probably going to be streaming online through the evening, Vanessa. But there is a new tornado watch up. And before we go, guys, I want to make sure we get this watch up real quickly. Let's see if I can grab it real quick. For some reason, our alerts aren't popping in here. So it's still populating. So we've got essentially what is going to be a tornado watch in effect west of I-77 in North Carolina till midnight tonight.
Oh, wow.
So that's basically all the areas of North and South Carolina. North Carolina only. We're not looking at South Carolina. So basically, I'll draw the box here in a second. I'm trying to see if we can grab it real quick. I'm going to throw it into the screen. So I'm going to edit this while I'm talking to you because it should be just coming in. So they just plotted. I don't know if you can see this red box that just got plotted. It basically includes, looking at it quickly, I'm going to try to pop it up here, make it brighter. See if I can't make it easier to see here for you. There we go. So this new tornado watch, and again, remember the watch means, it's that red box there. That means conditions are favorable for tornadoes to form. Doesn't mean there is a tornado, just means tornadoes could form with that area. And I'll throw the radar on here, and you'll see on the radar there's a line of storms that's going to be moving in from the west, and that line of storms right there is moving into that box. That's why the watch is up, because we could see additional spin up. So we'll stay on top of this through the rest of the evening. If we do get additional warnings, we will break in, and we will do some continuing coverage online as well. Make sure you follow us at WCNC or at WXBrad. I'll keep you up to date throughout the evening. But again, all tornado warnings are currently expired, but a new tornado watch is now in effect for areas until midnight tonight. We're now going to join your programming already in progress.